Hello everyone. I mean, I don't even know if I should say everyone because I don't even have many people that watch me. It's only like literally one person, like one or two. But today I'm gonna be talking about a topic which isn't very nice, but it's multiple stories though, because bullying can happen multiple times, and I didn't even know I was being bullied. So I'm just going to be talking about something that wasn't very nice for me. So first of all, I'm going to tell you what the topics that I was being bullied about. So just for a warning, because some people can get triggered by that if they hear a story about that. It can bring back bad memories or something, and something will happen. So I'm just gonna warn you and say what I'm gonna be talking about. I'm gonna be talking about racism, abilisim. I think it's called abilisim, and also homophobia and LGBTQ phobia in general. So yeah, I'm gonna be talking about those three topics. So if any of that kind of stuff triggers you, I suggest you leave this video right now, because some of this stuff is bad. Okay, but it's not as bad as what happens in other places, but it's made me very bad, feel very bad. I'm gonna go blow my nose first because my nose is stuffy. So I went and blowed my nose, so I'm done. But I'm gonna be talking about stories that happened to me and stories that I've seen other kids get bullied for. Yeah, it's not only me that gets bullied, it's practically half of the diverse kids in my old school. But I went to this school called, okay, I'm not going to say the real name, I'm going to invent a name. Let's call it Green School. Green School. Now, this school is not a real school. It could be a real school, but this is a fake name for it. So let's just call it Green. So basically, Green School is in a very small island. I live in a very small island in Spain. So I'm leaving soon. I'm gonna fly away. But here there isn't much diversity. And I used to go to an international school, which is where the schools are in English. It's an English school. But those schools are very small, and there was literally no diversity. Literally all of the kids there, I'm not even gonna lie, all of the kids there were white, blonde hair, straight blonde hair, and blue eyes. Like that. I mean, nothing against, it's just how people are, but, everyone was just, one thing. And the only little thing you could have was have, brown hair or something. There were very little kids who were, from a different race or different ethnicity, different country. They all came, from Sweden, Germany, or England. And that's it. So nothing really much. But I was in a class of 27 kids. I had no friends. And I'm going to be talking about the racism part first, because, it made me feel very sad. And I didn't even know the kids in my class were being racist. So I come from Africa, and I'm not going to say one specific country in Africa because I come from all of Africa. But my main, what I usually identify as is Egyptian or Arab, because, that's the biggest percentage in my African side. So I'm just gonna call it my African side. But like, it's a very traditional Arab home and everything. Like, my grandma always cooks like Arabic food and stuff, and she prays. She's Muslim. We're all very proud of our culture, you know. And I'm also Italian. I'm very proud of my Italian culture. You know, my dad cooks pizza half the time, and like all of this Italian stuff. But it's mainly focused on Arab stuff because we've got more Arab people in our family than Italian people. So half of the kids in my class know that I'm Arab because in the beginning of the year you had to introduce yourself and where you came from, and I was like, oh, I'm Arab and I also come from Italy, so I'm cool. And I was very proud of my culture until I started to get bullied by this kid called, let's call him Almond. Okay, and Almond was Swedish, I think. He had blonde hair, blue eyes, and everything, and he was white. So, he used to come up to me in break time because sometimes I would have like a little Arabic thing in my lunch. It would be like I don't know, some baklava. Baklava is like a Arabic sweet. It's like a really nice though. I love it. It's amazing. And then, or sometimes I'd have like other Arabic dishes. I'm not gonna specify, but he'd come up to me and he'd see my food and he'd be like, oh my god, you eat Arabic food at home, you know, that's so disgusting. You're disgusting. Ew. And he'd like be like, oh, it smells horrific. That's so gross. Ew, Arabic food. I mean, there are multiple types of Arabic food, but like whatever. But basically, we just say that, and I don't even know if that's racist. Maybe it is, probably. But I would just be like, oh, but I love this food. No one ever made fun of me because of it, you know? So I would start to get really ashamed of the food. And then I'd ask my grandma, hey, grandma, can you, like, stop packing this stuff in my lunch? You know? And then she'd be like, why? Why? And I'd be like, oh, no reason. I just don't really like it anymore. Even though I still loved it, because Arabic food is bomb. But the like main stuff that she would like cook for me, to specify, was Egyptian and Sudanese, but mainly Egyptian stuff. But you know, I would kind of get upset from time to time, but obviously she never stopped packing me Arabic food because my grandma's just like that. She won't stop at anything. So yeah, that was sad. But then as time kept on going past, I got diagnosed with ASD, or autism spectrum disorder, and he would start to also make fun of me because of that. And I'm not going to get into that pretty much because that's also the abilisim side, but he also said one time and multiple times, this one time I was eating my food and he was like, hey, do you have any food? And I'm like, yeah, I do. And he's like, oh, do you want me to explain that in sign language because you're disabled? Or do you want me to explain that in Arabic? And then he started to like speak gibberish. And I didn't know that was racist. I was like, oh, that's kind of sad. But he kept on mocking me for knowing Arabic and like because my family speaks Arabic. And he knew that I spoke Arabic and everything because, you know, I speak Arabic. And he would just mock me because of it. And it's like, bro, it's just a language. Jeez. But we had a test that day, and, you know, I couldn't stop thinking about that. So the teacher let me go out to the classroom because I couldn't focus on the test. And she was like, you can take a walk around the school to calm yourself down. That's what I did. And I was just walking around the school, you know. And then my mum saw me. My mum is a librarian. And so she works in the school. And she was like, oh, why are you out of class? And I'm like, oh, because of this and this happened. And she's like, bro, that's racist, you know? And that's how the I'm taking you out of this school sort of started. Now so that's the racism part. Also, my grandma was really annoyed at that because my grandma is probably the most proud Arab in the entire universe of universes. Okay, whatever. Sorry. She was very angry at that kid. But of course she couldn't do anything because right now she is in Sudan. So now we're gonna get into the ableism side. The ableist part is a very big part in the bullying side. Very big. Because, the kids in my old school weren't introduced to any sort of disability, The only disabilities that the kids had was dyslexia. There were only 5 other kids with dyslexia. With autism, not dyslexia. There were a bunch of kids with dyslexia, but only 5 kids in the entire school with autism. And I was one of them, and half of the 5 kids were tiny children in reception. In reception. Reception is where you go to in kindergarten, So I didn't have anyone else who was autistic to talk to, because also I didn't have anyone who knew me, and I actually lost a friend because of my autism. And I'm going to get into that losing a friend part right now. So let's call this friend Lime, because that actually was her nickname, Lime. And we were very good friends, but she did show a bunch of red flags. Not very good ones. She wouldn't really listen to me when we were talking, and she wouldn't really pay attention to me when I was talking, and she'd just be like, oh, I want to skip to the next thing. And when I was sad, I'd be like, oh, I'm kind of sad. And she'd be like, well, I'm not your therapist. Anyway, I get you're not my therapist, but I barely ever talked to her about my problems. But when I did, she would just be really rude about it. It's like, okay, maybe you don't want to talk to me, but maybe you can just say, oh, I don't really know how to talk to people about this thing. Instead of just go, oh my God, I'm not your therapist. She would also do that with a bunch of people, so it wasn't only me. But when I got diagnosed with autism, the principal told the entire class, because I had a very big problem with noise and stuff, and the school didn't even have enough stuff for my needs. I wasn't able to sit in a separate room for a test. I wasn't, because there weren't any other rooms, and those rooms were used for exams. So I wasn't able to go in another room during tests, which made me stressed out. I had these noise-canceling headphones, but I wasn't allowed to bring headphones in that cancelled with music. So I had to bring these Builder headphones, like Bob the Builder headphones. Yeah, and that was only when I got diagnosed with ASD. Before that, it was a really big mess, But the principal one day came into our classroom and he was like, oh, hey, yeah, this kid's got autism, this kid's got autism, just try and do these things. Here's a video to understand more about autism, and this is what it's about. Okay, and I really thought the kids were going to be kind about it, because, a literal teacher, a literal principal, a qualified principal comes into the classroom, tells you about my autism, and you should believe it, because, the principal's an adult, and you're a tiny child. You can't just, okay, whatever. So I expected people to understand, but my friend didn't, Lime kept on going on about, I remember Lime was really mean to me about it. She'd be like, oh, you're not autistic, I don't think you're autistic, you're just saying that for some reason, you're just saying that for attention, okay? And I kind of didn't speak to her about it, because I have told her that I might have this, and then it turns out I didn't have this, because my mum was actually trying to figure out what I had, because she knew I was different, and she kept on looking into stuff, and she was like, oh, I'm going to try and get you diagnosed with ADHD. So I would tell this friend literally everything because I didn't have any other friends. And I'd be like, oh, yeah, I might have ADHD. And I think she took that as, oh, you have ADHD. And then when I told her, oh, I actually don't have ADHD. I actually probably don't have ADHD. And she'd be like, oh, my God, you lied. And I'd be like, but I didn't even tell you that I had ADHD. I said it was a possibility. And she was like, no, you didn't say it was a possibility. I just think communication lacked in certain stuff. That's another thing. She didn't really listen to me carefully. But anyway. So she just thought I was straight up lying about it. And then one day in French class, I raised my hand because it was getting really noisy. And the teacher was like, oh, you can go out to the classroom if you're getting a bit overwhelmed. And then Lime looked at me and rolled her eyes. And I'm like, why are you rolling your eyes? And she's like, why are you going out to the classroom? I'm like, oh, because I'm getting overwhelmed. She's like, you don't even have autism, you know. And I'm like, well, I do. I got formally diagnosed with it. You can't just say that I don't have it. And she's like, well, I don't think you have it, you know. I really don't think you have it. Like, you don't have autism. I'm like, I don't want to sit next to you anymore because we had assigned seats and I was sitting next to her and I was like, I don't want to sit next to you anymore. And this girl in front of us was like, oh, I thought you guys were like besties. And I'm like, no, we're not anymore. She's being rude. So then she was just like, oh my God, you're not autistic, you know? This kid isn't autistic. And she was just telling this to everyone. And then someone behind me was like, hey, you know, you're the reason that we can't make any noises because otherwise you get overwhelmed. And it's like, it's not my fault. I was just born like that. And some other kids were just coming at me and it was so much noise and so much pressure. And everyone was like, no, you're not autistic. You're the reason of this. You're the reason of that. And then I just sort of was like, oh God, I just didn't know what to do. And I just ran out to the classroom, you know. But what I'm really thankful for is that there was this one kid, okay, and he has a disability of his own. I'm not going to specify which, because it's his own personal stuff. But he has his own disability of his own, and he also gets made fun of because of his disability, like me. So he understands, and he came up to me, and he saw me crying, and he's like, oh, what's the matter? And like, I had an argument with my friend, and I just stuttered and everything. He was like, oh, okay. And then my mum came out, because she's the librarian, and I was right next to the library. And my mum came out, and she was like, oh, what's the matter? So she took me down and everything. You know, that's one thing. And then when I got home, I was literally like, because she was like one of my big friends. I didn't have any other friends, you know. And I was getting so worried, like, oh, what if we're not friends anymore? And I started to cry, and I had like so many meltdowns. I had like 2 and then 1 shutdown. It was just like crazy, you know. And then I went back to school and the same thing happened. We still got arguments and stuff. So I thought, okay, I'm gonna talk to you because we had like the school therapist thing, and I was like, I'm gonna talk to her so that maybe she can fix this situation. So I talked to her about the incident. She put us into a room and she started to talk to us. She was like, oh, yeah, this is this person's side of the story and this is that person's side of the story. Can you make up now? We made up. And then when I got home, she sent me a text message. And it was like, oh, this behavior is disgusting. I can't believe you need to get a teacher to get friends. I can't believe you have to get a teacher to make friends for you, you know? This is disgusting, you know? You're ruining my life, you know? Right now I'm having the time of my life with my real friends. You're just so pathetic. And that made me cry, of course, and I couldn't go to school for a bunch of other times because I had an entire shutdown for so long, and I was just in so much pain. Because, like, I was so attached to that friend. It was so sad. And the only thing that literally the only thing that helped me get over it was so there's a singer called Melanie Martinez, and she has this song called Glued, and it's talking about how you're attached to something but you don't want to let go, even though you might feel the pain, you'll still feel that love. And, you know, I'm so bad at explaining. Wait. So the song is about how you're attached to someone and you'll probably get hurt because you're so attached to them, like in your heart, but you don't care because you're feeling love coming from them. And I really related to that because that's exactly how I felt when I was with her. But then I realized, oh, I'm just feeling the pain, this is normal. But it was so bad. I was so sad. I was literally like on the level of depressed. I was crying my eyes out every single night, every single day. Literally, I had like these puffs under my eyes and I couldn't go back to school until like a bunch of days later, until I was like fully recovered. It was just so sad. So that's that story. We're not friends anymore because I realized that she's a poo head. No. Don't make friends with poo heads because you're just going to end up with a poo head brain. And then you're going to be poo head. And then when you recover, you're going to like realize, oh, I shouldn't have made friends with that poo head. Now we're going to be talking about more ableism because there's more. There was like this group of girls in my school and they would come up to me and they'd be like, oh, you're not autistic, you're just saying that because you want attention. And that was all they really said. But it was really annoying because like I'm not saying that for attention, it's my actual diagnosis. And you don't have the right to say, oh, you're not autistic because I say so. You don't. And then they also, for some reason, they nag me about all of my autistic traits. But then they still say, you're not autistic, you're just saying that for attention. It makes no sense. They'll be like, why are you looking at me in the eye? Why are you telling everyone to stop tapping, why are you so sensitive to noise? It's not even that loud. And then they're just like, you're not autistic, you're just saying that for attention. It's like, bro, no. Yeah, anyway. And then there was this bunch of boys in my class who would be like, you're so weird because you're autistic. You're so disabled. Ew, retarded person. Like, you shouldn't even use that word retarded because retarded people aren't dumb or anything. They're just normal people with a disability. Bro, it shouldn't even be used as like an offensive. It shouldn't even be used as a swear word because retardism is an actual disability, and using it as a term to say you're dumb, it's just plain offensive. If I say, oh, you're retarded, everyone will take that as you're dumb. No. How do you think actually retarded people feel when they hear that? That's not fair. Because it's just offensive, honestly. Offensive. Anyway, so that's all of my stories. Now I'm going to be talking about other people who get bullied. In my school! My old school. Not my school at the moment. My school at the moment isn't really like a school. It's more like a camp, but whatever. So, yeah. There's this kid. This is now LGBTQ phobia. There are very little kids in our school who are LGBTQ. I mean, there are some. Some of them have come out. Very little have come out. And some of them haven't come out because they're scared. And you may be thinking, wait, Squish, how do you know that they're actually LGBTQ? Well, I know that they're LGBTQ because they posted it on social media, and I've seen their social media. And I've seen them saying, oh, I'm bisexual, oh, I'm gay. So I don't mind that, but like I understand why they don't want to come out. Because the kids who have come out are going through a lot. For instance, there's this kid, let's call him Flip-Flop. Sorry, I was staring at a flip-flop whilst thinking about that. But anyway, so Flip-Flop is gay, That every time he passes by kids in my class, so every time he just walks by in the corridor, the kids in my class have the audacity, in my old school class, the kids have the audacity to say, you gay mother effer. Like, bro, why are you saying that? That's not right. I don't get it. Because they're not even exposed to stuff like that. And it's the same with a bunch of other people, you know? It's just not right, you know? Honestly. And then there's like a bunch of kids who are bisexual. The only people I've seen are bisexual who haven't come out. And they're like, oh, I'm bisexual. They'll say it on the internet, but they won't say it at school. And I know that for a fact because I've heard them claim that they're straight when they're actually not. You know, it's just sad because I understand why they don't want to come out, you know? They're going to get bullied for the rest of their life in that school. It's torture. It's like a prison. Honestly, crazy. And you think, oh, they probably know that they're being bullied. They don't. They don't think that it's bullying. They just think, oh, some kids being bumholes. No, they're actually being bullied, and they don't know that they're being bullied. Like, how sad is that? Bro, honestly. Literally, the only person who I know in that school who is actually nice is a girl who I used to be friends with. She's not in that school anymore, unfortunately. But let's call her Boa. No, Bo. Let's call her Bo. So she was very nice. Like, I remember this one time I had a meltdown and I had to run out to the classroom and I was crying and everything. And I was like screaming and stuff. It was so bad. And she came up to me like a few minutes later. And she's actually worked with like kids who are autistic and she'd like calm me down. You know, she's just so awesome. And that's so sad because she's not in the school anymore. And you think that like stuff in other places is bad, but when you think about what's in very secluded, isolated places, you're like, wow, that's actually very bad. Like, you hear all these stories on the internet and you're like, wow, that's bad. But it's probably because they're on secluded places. Like, half of the people on this island are so close-minded. Like, it's just crazy, you know? It's so sad. And I've gone out with my grandma before, to like the shops or something to accompany her, and she wears a hijab, you know, and then people will look at her like she's crazy, and the cashiers in the supermarket will be like, "Oh, you're Arab, ew, ew." It's like, bro, it's literally just somewhere where we come from. You shouldn't make fun of it. Like, dude, it's crazy. Anyway, what have we learnt from today? Don't make friends with poo heads. And don't be racist, and don't be ableist, and don't be LGBTQ phobic. That's what we learnt. And I'm sorry I didn't have my microphone today because I couldn't find it. I actually use a karaoke box for this, but I lost my microphone. It's actually kind of sad. Oh wait, no, it's there. It's right there. Sorry, wait. It's in here, so that's kind of dumb for me to do, but okay. Also, some people don't like the echoing sounds of the microphone, so that. Oh no, I don't have a dimple. It'd be cool if I did, though. Anyway, bye everybody who would watch my channel, because I know there aren't many people who watch my videos, but thank you for clicking on this video. Out of all of the videos, and especially because you probably won't see this video, but thank you if you did watch it. I'm very grateful, because I'm a middle school boy sitting here in my bedroom, in the corner of my bedroom, talking about bullying because I'm bored. And I just moved out to that school, so thank you. Goodbye. Hope you have a great day.